This is the video notes that are going to go with our guided notes, solving inequalities with variables on both sides. Now, this is introducing the idea of solving those inequalities like you worked in 7th grade, but this time my variable will be on both sides of the inequality. And how are we going to handle that? So just a couple of fast reminders. Remember, we want the variable on the left side always, just like when we were solving the equation, okay? Also, don't forget to flip the inequality sign in the last step if the coefficient is negative. And we'll talk about that when we get there, okay? Now, look at my first one. Negative 3x is less than negative 8x plus 20. First thing I'm going to do is put in my river right here. There we go. Now, I'm going to solve the same way I did my equations. I want to put my x's on the left side of the river. So the very first step right here is to add that 8x to both sides, just like that. Okay. Now, let's combine our terms. Negative 3x plus 8x, negative 3 plus 8 is a positive 5x, less than, we know these negative 8x plus 8x, they're opposites, so they zero themselves off, just like that. And then I bring down my 20. Okay, so I only got one thing left to do, and that is to divide both sides by the 5. So I've got 5, I'm sorry, not 5. The 5s are going to cancel out. Get my tongue untied right there. And I'm going to have x less than 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Now, I've got x is less than 4 as my answer. I want to check this and make sure that it's probably right. So what I'm going to do is pick a number that is less than 4. Now, I can pick any number less than 4, but I'm going to pick the easiest number less than 4 that's to work with is 0. Because think about that. If you multiply something by 0, you get 0. What happens if you add or subtract 0? You get the same old thing. It is the number one easiest number to do your math with. So I'm going to check 0. So what I'm going to do right here is rewrite my inequality. And I'm going to put my river in that we're used to, just like that. Now, because I have variables on both sides of the inequality, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work on both sides. So just like with equations, I'm going to focus on one side at a time. So right here on the left side, I've got negative 3 times x. I don't want to use 4 for x. I'm not, because x is not equal to 4. X is a number less than 4. So remember, I picked 0 because 0 is less than 4. It's smaller than 4. So I'm going to use 0 as my test number. So negative 3 times 0 is 0. Now, I've simplified the left side, so now let's go over and simplify the right side. So I've got negative 8 times 0 plus 20. Okay, now bringing down this line. Negative 8 times 0 is 0 plus 20. 0 plus 20, we know, is 20. So what I have as a final statement right here is that 0 is less than 20. Just like with equations, I'm going to ask myself, is that true or false? Well, that's definitely true because 0 is a smaller number than 20. So that checks, and that means I can circle this as my correct answer. Okay, pause your video, get this copied down, and then we'll go to example 2. Now, example 2 is, again, an inequality that has the variables on both sides, okay? So I'm going to start off just like we did before. Put my river in. The next thing I want to think about is putting the x's on the left side together, which means then I need to move this 3x. And since that's a positive right there, I'm going to make a minus 3x. Just like that. Now, right here, negative 4 minus 3, that's negative 7x. Plus my 1, bring down my inequality sign. We know that the 3x minus 3x cancels out, and I'm left over here with negative 20. Okay, now my next step is to move the 1 to the right side. We know if we put all the x's on the left side, all the numbers have got to go to the right. Okay, they have to go opposite sides. So that's going to be minus 1, minus 1. Put that just like that. I'm going to bring down that negative 7x. This 1 minus 1, we know that cancels out, right? Bring down my greater than or equal to. Negative 20 minus 1, that would be negative 21. Okay, now I just got one last step. I just need to divide by the negative 7. Now, are you going to remember when you're dividing it by that negative right here, that you need to flip that inequality to go the other way, just like that? Okay, please don't forget that. Okay, negative 21 divided by negative 7, we know is positive 3. Okay, now my answer says it should be x is less than or equal to positive 3. So let's pick a number that is smaller than 3 to see if it works. Okay, so, oh, I can use 0 again, can I? Okay, because 0 is smaller than 3. Okay, so let's check that number. Now remember, we're not so much interested in checking 3. We want a number that's smaller than 3. Okay, so I'm going to do my equation over, or my inequality over again. It's not an equation, it's an inequality. Rewrite it. I'm going to put my river in there. Now again, I'm going to work on one side of the river and simplify it completely before I go to the other side. So let's do the left side. So I'm going to have negative 4 times 3 plus 1. Well, negative 4 times 3 is negative 12 plus 1, but negative 12 plus 1 is negative 11. I'm just bringing down my inequality. Okay, now let's go over to the other side and let's try this. Okay, now I've got right here 3 times, and I used 3 for x, didn't I? 3 minus 20. So that's going to give me 9 minus 20, which is negative 11. All right, is that a true statement? Negative 11 is greater than or equal to negative 11. Yes, it is. So what I did here was I checked x equals 3, and it told me the equal part of my inequality is correct. Now what I need to do is check a number that's smaller than to make sure that my inequality less than is correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip my paper over right here, and we're going to rewrite this problem. Negative, what was it? Negative 4x plus 1. It was greater than or equal to 3x minus 20. Okay, and I'm going to put in my river. Now I want to check x is equal to 0. This is going to make sure that this greater than part of the problem is good to go. Okay, is it greater than? Yes. All right, so I'm going to do negative 4 times 0 plus 1 is greater than or equal. Okay, now again, I'm going to work on one side of the river. So right here, -4 times 0 is 0 plus 1. Well, 0 plus 1 is 1, just like that. Okay, now over on this side, I'm going to do 3 times 0 minus 20. 3 times 0 is 0 minus 20, and that makes it -20. Now, take a look. Is this true? Is 1 greater than or equal to -20? Yes, positives are always greater than negatives, so that checks out. So I checked. Let me flip back over here for a second. If you need to pause the video and copy this down, copy it. But when I flip back over here, when I checked x equals 3, it worked because my inequality says that x is less than or equal to 3. So when I checked 3 in it, that's the equal to part. When I checked my 0, that was on the back of my paper, that was the less than part. Okay? Now, pause your video and let's copy that down. And then we'll work on example 3. Now, I picked example 3 because it has parentheses. So I put in my river. Now, we know we got to do parentheses first. So I'm going to bring down the 4x minus 6 greater than. And now here we're going to do our distributive property. So if I do 2 times 4, I have 8 minus 2 times 3x is 6x. Now, remember what are we going to do next? We're going to put the x's on the left side together. Okay, so that means I'm going to add this 6x to both sides. See how this is just like those equations? It's just got that inequality in the middle instead of an equal sign. Well, 4x plus 6x is 10x minus 6, and that's going to give me 8. Now, of course, the next thing to do is put the 6 over on the right side with the 8. So I'm going to do what? I'm going to add that 6, aren't I? Just like that. And I've got 10x equal to 8 plus 16, which is 14. What happens when I divide by 10? Okay, I can actually put 14 divided by 10 into my calculator, and I'm going to come up with 1.4. Oops, look what I just did. I'm glad I did that because I want to tell you guys, make sure you don't switch your inequalities to equals. I have people that do that every single year, and you just caught me doing it. So don't do that. Don't make that mistake I just made. Okay, now I have x is greater than 1.4. Now you're scratching your head and going, that's a decimal. I don't want to check a decimal. Well, you know what? You don't have to check a decimal. You just need to check a number that is greater than 1.4. What is a nice, easy number that is larger than 1.4? Well, what about 2? Just like that. So let's check 2. Okay? Now, when we're checking, what's that first thing? 4x minus 6. We're going to copy that problem down just the way it started off. Just like that. We're going to put our river right in there. Okay. Now, here we go. So, working on the left side of my river. And remember, I'm checking 2. I'm going to have 4 times 2 minus 6. Oh, this is easy. 4 times 2 is 8. Minus 6, but 8 minus 6 is 2. Now, I'm going to bring down my inequality right there. And now let's do this other side. 2 parentheses, 4 minus 3 times 2. Now, bring down that 2. Let's work inside here, order of operations. That's 4 minus 6, right? Because you got to multiply first. 2 parentheses, 4 minus 6 is -2. But what's 2 times -2? It's -4, isn't it? So what I have here is 2 is greater than 4 when I bring everything down. Now my question is that true? Is 2 greater than -4? Absolutely. Yep, that checks out. And I can circle this and I can move on to my next problem. Okay, now please make sure you get these notes copied and placed into your interactive notebook, and then you can go to Canvas and find your assignment to work on.